Hi, my name is Susan Emery. My brother and I are practicing our YouTube skills today, and we thought we'd have a meatloaf cook-off. This is Bill's meatloaf that he prepared earlier, and it's stuffed with goat cheese and spinach and has all sorts of good stuff like mushrooms and stuff in it. And mine is going to be with bacon and caramelized onions. And I'll start with the onions. I've already started chopping the onions. You're going to need either 3 small onions or 2 large onions. Okay, for the ingredients for the bacon wrapped meatloaf are 2 pounds of ground beef, 3 eggs, 2 large or 3 small onions, 8 ounces of mushrooms, 3 cloves garlic, 1 1/4 cups oats, 3/4 cups of milk, beef broth, or you could use almond milk. 1 tablespoon each of dry mustard powder, Worcestershire sauce, low sodium tamari, tomato paste, and balsamic vinegar. 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 pound low sodium bacon, and you're also going to need 1/2 cup of ketchup and 1/2 cup of any kind of jarred barbecue sauce of your choice. Okay, I've got a cast iron skillet going medium-high heat, and I just finished chopping the rest of my onions. I'm going to drop them in, and I'm going to turn the oven on 350 to heat it up, to preheat it. My oven's pretty hot. I'm also going to clean some mushrooms and chop up some garlic. The mushrooms I'm going to saute a little bit. They're going to add a lot of moisture and a lot of beefy flavor to the meatloaf. And what else am I? Oh, we want to really up the beefy flavor today. So I've got some balsamic vinegar, Worcestershire. I'm using organic low sodium tamari. You could use regular old soy sauce. I'm trying to cut some of the sodium. I've also am using low sodium bacon. This would be a good recipe for somebody that was gluten-free to use, because you can get we're using oats instead of breadcrumbs, and you could get the gluten-free oats very easily. And it depends on how sensitive you are as a celiac. We're using milk, but you could use unflavored, unsweetened almond milk in place of, or goat's milk, any kind of milk. You could use some beef broth if you wanted to. I'm also going to put some tablespoon of tomato paste in. That'll also up the beefy flavor. And it's going to take me about 20 minutes to get these to caramelize. I'm really not too worried about letting the mushrooms and the onions and garlic cool down all the way before I add them to the meat mixture, because I'm going to immediately stick it in a hot oven. So that's not really going to matter. So come back and see me in about 20 minutes. Okay, so while I'm waiting I just finished up my mushrooms, onions, and garlic are in the skillet. I'm going to dump my cup of milk on my oats, and you could always buy the Bob's Red Mill gluten-free oats. And I'm going to let that soak for just a minute while I mix everything else together. Alright. I've got 2 pounds of ground beef, 3 eggs. I'm going to crack the yolk and mix them up a little bit. Now this meatloaf is going to seem pretty liquidy at first, but it'll all absorb. I have a tablespoon of ground mustard powder, a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar, that's to pump up that meaty flavor, a teaspoon of ground pepper, and I'm trying to get this as beefy tasting as I can without it having too much sodium. Now the one thing that I think is going to have quite a bit of sodium is this Worcestershire, but it just really gives it that deep, rich flavor. I'm going to put a tablespoon of Worcestershire and a tablespoon of low sodium tamari. That'll help with that salty flavor. And I'm going to add a tablespoon of tomato paste, and I can always freeze that if I don't use an entire can of tomato paste. And I'm going to mix this up and let my mushrooms and onions cool down just a little bit before I add it. Just going to get in there with my hands. Try not to over mix it. Okay, I'm going to give that 5 minutes to cool down, and if you want to speed in the cooling, just so that I'll be able to mix it, if you want to speed up your cooling process, you can put it in a separate bowl and then set that bowl down in some ice water. Okay, so in order to cool this down more quickly, if you spread it out over more surface area, and then also it's in a sink with a little bit of ice water. Now that is almost cool enough that I can touch it and move it to the bowl with the meat mixture in it. I'm going to give it just a couple more minutes and we'll be ready to go. Okay, I just pulled my mushrooms, onions, and garlic out of the sink. That was literally in the ice water bath for maybe 3 minutes, and because I spread it out in this pan, it really cooled down fast. And this is going to help keep our meatloaf nice and moist. Okay. And it's time to add our milk and oats. And like I said, if you don't want any dairy in there, you could do unflavored almond milk or beef broth. Alright, and then we just have to mix this gently, and we're going to form this into a loaf shape and put it on the pan, and then we're going to wrap bacon around it. You got to get in there with your hands or it's not going to work. This is a very, very moist mixture. I think it would help to do it. Oh, by the way, I lined my pan with foil. Then I put a drying rack on top of it, and the foil and everything has been sprayed with Pam to keep it from sticking and make easier cleanup. Okay, so now I got my meatloaf, mushroom, onion mixture good to go here. And I'm not sure if I'm going to use all of these slices or bacon or not. What you want to do is wrap and tuck. And what we're going to do is cook this at 350 degrees. My oven is already at 350 for 45 minutes. And then we're taking our barbecue sauce. I like KC Masterpiece if you're using one straight from the grocery store, but whatever your favorite barbecue sauce is. And I like a half barbecue sauce, half ketchup. Okay, and this is ready to go in the oven. Oh, we've got a little bit of bacon left for breakfast tomorrow. That was 1 pound of bacon, and I used about 3/4 of that, which would be about 12 ounces. Alright, so it's been about 45 minutes. We're going to take the meatloaf out of the oven, and we're going to make a glaze to put on top of it. And as you can see, our bacon has been cooked through, so we don't have to worry about that. Now this is just half a cup of barbecue sauce, half a cup of ketchup. Stir them together real quickly. And we're just going to glaze the top of this. And then this will go right back in the oven for 15 more minutes. And then all you'll need to do is let it rest. We'll be done. This is our meatloaf. It just came out of the oven. And I'm going to let it sit for a couple of minutes and then cut into it. We'll pretend like I let it sit for a couple of minutes because I'm going to cut into it so my brother can try some before he heads home. And as you can see, his was pretty popular. That's all that's left. All right, well, let us know how you like them. Thanks.